The Goldfish did not know the restaurant's name. It was printed on the front window in clean white letters, and it was probably said aloud 100 times a day by people making reservations or meeting friends. But the Goldfish lived behind the counter, in a round glass bowl on a sturdy shelf, and words on windows were not part of his world. What he knew was this: light in the morning was soft and pale, filtering through the front glass and warming the water from one side. Light in the evening was golden and busy, broken into moving shapes by people passing, plates being carried, and hands reaching for napkins. And light at night was different, dimmer, quieter, like the whole room was holding its breath. The Goldfish liked the night best, not because he disliked people. He didn't have a strong opinion about people. They were simply part of the restaurant, like the clink of utensils and the steady rhythm of the sink faucet and the smell of garlic that came and went in waves. But at night, when the last guest had left and the chairs were turned upside down on tables like calm, sleeping animals, something else happened in the kitchen. Something subtle, something that didn't make sense, but also didn't feel dangerous. The Goldfish drifted in a slow circle, his tail fanning gently behind him. His bowl was kept clean, his pebbles arranged neatly, and a small ceramic lighthouse stood near the center like a decoration that no one remembered choosing. The lighthouse had been there longer than the Goldfish had. Sometimes he paused beside it, not because it meant anything, but because it was the one constant shape in a world of shifting reflections. Beyond the bowl was the kitchen, stainless steel counters, a row of hanging pans, shelves stacked with plates and bowls, a prep station dusted with flour, a bulletin board with order tickets, clipped in tidy rows. Most nights, the kitchen would be empty after closing, but on certain nights, just after the lights were lowered and the front door was locked, the Goldfish would see movement. Not footsteps, not shadows of people, something smaller, a ladle that rocked gently in place, as if it had been bumped, a spoon that slid a few inches across a counter and stopped neatly at the edge, as if someone had lined it up. And always, always, the faintest sound of a drawer closing, slow and careful, as if it didn't want to wake the room. The first time it happened, the Goldfish had not been surprised. Goldfish were not built for surprise, in the way humans meant it. New things happened. Light changed. Water moved. Sometimes there was food. Sometimes there was not. That was life. But he had noticed it. The way you notice a change in current, or a new reflection in the glass. And now he waited for it. Tonight was one of those nights. The restaurant had closed late. A birthday group had lingered at the last table, laughing softly, sharing dessert, asking for one more cup of tea even though it was past the usual time. When they finally left, the staff moved through their closing routines with practiced calm. The cook, a woman with dark hair tied up in a scarf, wiped down the counters in long, even strokes. She moved like someone who had done this 1,000 times and could do it with her eyes half closed. The dishwasher, a tall man with tired eyes and a gentle voice, stacked the last of the clean plates. And the server, a younger person with a neat apron and quick hands, checked the chairs and turned off the music. They all glanced at the Goldfish, as they often did, and the server leaned in close to the bowl. "Night, Captain," they said softly. Captain wasn't his name, but it was what they called him. The Goldfish watched their face through the curved glass, the way it distorted slightly at the edges. The server sprinkled a tiny pinch of food into the bowl. The flakes drifted down like soft snow. The Goldfish swam up and ate slowly, unhurried. "Don't get into trouble," the server said, smiling, as if the Goldfish had a habit of mischief. Then the staff turned off the overhead lights, leaving only the small lamp above the counter. It cast a warm circle of light around the Goldfish's bowl and a narrow strip along the nearest counter. The front door clicked. The lock turned. The restaurant settled. Quiet arrived in layers. First, the kitchen quiet, where no one was speaking and the fans were low. Then the dining room quiet, where chairs rested upside down and tablecloths stopped moving. Then the street quiet outside, where the occasional car passed like a distant thought. The Goldfish drifted down, hovering near the lighthouse. His world was dim, but not dark. The lamp's glow made the water look amber around the edges. He watched the kitchen. Minutes passed. A faint hum came from the refrigerator. The goldfish turned slowly, as if to keep the kitchen in view no matter where he faced. Then it happened. The ladle, hanging from a hook, tilted to one side. It rocked gently, then settled. A spoon, lying on a folded towel, slid an inch, then another, then stopped perfectly parallel to the towel's edge. The goldfish watched, still and attentive. He did not feel fear. The movement did not threaten his water. The bowl did not shake. If anything, it felt like the kitchen was doing what it wanted to do when no one watched it. The drawer closed next. It wasn't a slam. It was soft. A careful glide, ending with a quiet click. The goldfish floated higher, his fins moving with slightly more effort. Not panic. Interest. The lamp above the counter flickered once. Not off. Just a quick dim and return, like a blink. The goldfish stared at the reflection of the lamp in the curve of the bowl. It made 2 lamps, then 3, then 1 again, depending on where he turned. Then, on the far counter, a small paper order ticket lifted at one corner, as if caught by a gentle breeze. There was no breeze. The ticket rose, held for a moment, and then laid itself back down. The goldfish swam in a slow circle. He circled again. And then, because goldfish did not keep secrets well even when they tried, he did the closest thing he could to calling out. He blew a bubble. It rose to the surface and popped softly. Nothing answered. The kitchen remained still for a beat, as if listening. Then a spatula shifted slightly, not toward the edge, but away from it, as if someone had noticed it was too close and corrected it. The goldfish hovered. Another bubble escaped him. Smaller. The drawer clicked open a fraction of an inch. The goldfish froze. The drawer slid shut again, almost shyly. If the goldfish had eyebrows, he would have raised them. He drifted closer to the glass, peering out. It was hard to see everything from his bowl. His view was curved and limited, but he could see the counter clearly, and the hooks with the ladle and the pans. And he could see the bulletin board with the order tickets. The top ticket, the one that had lifted earlier, was now crooked, hanging at a small angle. The goldfish stared at it. It stared back, in the way paper can stare when it is the only moving thing in a quiet room. The goldfish made a decision. It was not a complex decision, because goldfish decisions were usually about swimming up or down, left or right, closer or farther. But it felt like a decision anyway. He swam to the front of the bowl and pressed his nose lightly to the glass. On the outside of the bowl, taped to the shelf, was a small card with feeding instructions and water change reminders. It had been written in neat handwriting. The goldfish could not read it, but he knew the card existed because he had seen the staff point to it and nod. He nudged the glass again, as if the card could somehow help. The kitchen stayed still. Then the spoon on the towel slid back, returning to its original position as if nothing had happened. The order ticket on the bulletin board fluttered once, and then went quiet. For a few seconds, nothing moved. The goldfish waited, patient and curious. At last, the lamp above the counter flickered again. A blink. And then, very softly, something new happened. The smell of lemon drifted into the kitchen. Not the harsh lemon cleaner that sometimes appeared after mopping, but the gentle lemon of zest. Bright and fresh and clean. The goldfish liked it. It reminded him of mornings. The smell grew stronger for a moment, then faded. The goldfish watched the kitchen, trying to understand. He did not understand, but something in him felt certain that the kitchen had done that on purpose. The next morning, the cook arrived first. She turned on the lights in the kitchen and tied on her apron without hurry. She glanced at the goldfish and smiled. "Morning, Captain," she said. "You behave." The goldfish swam up. She leaned close to the bowl, squinting slightly. "Did your lighthouse move?" she asked. The goldfish drifted toward the lighthouse. It sat in the same place it always did, upright and still. The cook reached a hand behind the bowl and felt the tape on the feeding card. "Huh," she murmured. "This is loose." She pressed the tape down firmly, smoothing it. "There. Better." Then she turned to the counter and stopped. On the folded towel, the spoon was placed perfectly straight, more neatly aligned than usual. Next to it, as if someone had been trying out a new habit, was a lemon. A whole lemon. Fresh. Bright yellow. The cook stared at it. No one left lemons out like that. They were kept in a bin in the cooler, or in a bowl near the prep station, not placed on a towel beside a spoon like a suggestion. The cook's brow furrowed. The dishwasher arrived next, rubbing his eyes. "Morning," he said, then noticed the lemon. Did you put that there?" "I did not," the cook said slowly. The server came in last, carrying a small bag of rolls. They stopped in the doorway and followed the other's gaze. "What's with the lemon?" the server asked. The cook lifted it carefully, turning it in her hands as if it might have a label. "It didn't. It's just a lemon," she said. The dishwasher looked around the kitchen. "Did we have lemons left out last night?" "No," the cook said. The server walked to the bulletin board, pulled off an order ticket, and frowned. "This ticket's crooked," they said. "I always line them up." The cook pointed at the spoon. "And that's too straight." The dishwasher pointed at a drawer. "That drawer's not fully closed." They all stood still for a moment, as if the kitchen had quietly dared them to notice. The goldfish watched from his bowl, fins fanning. June and Rowan did not live here. No cosmic characters lived here. No voice spoke from a speaker. Just a goldfish in a kitchen, and a lemon that shouldn't have been where it was. The server looked at the goldfish and narrowed their eyes playfully. "Captain," they said, leaning toward the bowl, "was this you?" The goldfish did the only thing he could think to do. He blew a bubble. The bubble rose and popped. The cook laughed once, short and surprised. "Okay," she said. "Either the fish is pranking us, or our kitchen is haunted by lemons." "No," the dishwasher said firmly, but his eyes were amused. "Not haunted. That's too scary." The servers snapped their fingers. "Not haunted. Organized." The cook blinked. "Organized." "Yeah," the server said, gesturing around. "Look, the spoon's straight. The ticket's almost straight. The drawer's almost closed. It's like someone tried to tidy up but didn't finish." The dishwasher leaned closer to the counter, inspecting the towel. "So the kitchen has standards now." The cook set the lemon down and crossed her arms. "If the kitchen wants to help, it can start by peeling itself," she said. The server giggled. The dishwasher chuckled. The goldfish swam to the front of the bowl, watching their faces and the way their shoulders relaxed. For the rest of the morning, they worked as usual. The cook sliced onions and pressed dough. The dishwasher washed. The servers set up the dining room. But every so often, they glanced at the lemon. At midday, the cook used it to zest into a sauce. "Might as well," she said. "If the kitchen gifted it, we'll honor the gift." The sauce was good. Bright. Just enough. That night, after closing, the server stayed behind for a moment while the others finished up. They turned off the dining room lights and left the small lamp above the goldfish's bowl on, as always. Then, instead of leaving immediately, they leaned close to the glass and whispered, "Okay, Captain. If you're doing something weird, just do it gently, all right?" The goldfish hovered, calm. The server placed a folded towel on the counter. On it, they set a spoon, slightly crooked on purpose. Next to it, they placed a lemon. Not too close to the edge. Not too far back. Just there. They stepped back and looked at it like they were setting a trap for an invisible neat freak. Then they smiled at the goldfish. "Good night," they said and left. The restaurant settled again. Quiet arrived in layers. The goldfish waited. Minutes passed. The refrigerator hummed. The lamp made the water look amber. And then, slowly, the spoon on the towel slid until it was perfectly straight. The lemon did not move. The goldfish stared. The drawer clicked softly. The order tickets fluttered once and settled into a neater row. The goldfish drifted closer to the lighthouse, watching with steady curiosity. The kitchen was tidying itself again, careful and deliberate, as if it was learning a routine. The goldfish blew a bubble. It popped. The spoon stayed straight. The lemon scent grew faintly, like someone had zested the air itself. The goldfish did not understand, but he felt, in his simple way, that he was part of something. Not dangerous, not loud, just strange and gentle. The next morning, the cook walked in, saw the spoon, and grinned. "Oh," she said, pointing at it. "It happened again." The dishwasher leaned in and sniffed. "And lemon." The server clapped quietly. "Captain," they said, looking at the fish, "you have an assistant now." The cook set a new towel down and placed a whisk on it, crooked on purpose. She looked at the goldfish, like she was making a bargain with the room itself. "Okay, kitchen," she said, voice calm and friendly. "If you want to tidy, we'll let you. But you have to follow one rule." The dishwasher raised an eyebrow. "You're negotiating with the kitchen?" "Apparently," the cook said. The server leaned forward. "What's the rule?" The cook smiled. "No rearranging knives. Ever." The dishwasher nodded seriously. "Good rule." The server pointed at a stack of menus. "Also no rearranging the tip jar." The cook waved a hand. "Yes, that too." They all laughed, and the laughter made the kitchen feel less like a workplace and more like a shared space. That night, they tested again. They left a towel with a crooked spoon, a crooked whisk, a crooked napkin stack, and on a whim, the server left a tiny paper hat, one of those silly folded ones you can make from a receipt, beside the goldfish's bowl. They didn't know why they did it. It just felt right. After closing, the kitchen quieted. The goldfish waited, watching the familiar corners. The spoon slid straight. The whisk rotated slightly until its handle lined up with the towel edge. The napkins squared themselves into a tidy stack. Then the tiny paper hat lifted and drifted closer to the bowl. The goldfish stared. The paper hat floated like it was being carried by a breeze that didn't exist. It moved slowly, carefully, and then settled on top of the goldfish's bowl, right at the rim, not falling in, just perched there, balanced. The goldfish hovered directly beneath it, looking up. He couldn't wear it. He couldn't touch it without bumping the glass. But it was clearly meant for him. The goldfish blew a bubble. It rose and popped under the hat, making it wobble slightly. The hat held. In the dim lamp light, it looked ridiculous. A goldfish with a hat that he couldn't actually wear. The next morning, the server arrived first and saw it. They froze in the doorway, then walked forward slowly, as if approaching a rare animal. "Captain," they whispered. The cook came in behind them. "What?" The server pointed. The cook stared at the hat, and then burst into laughter, a full-bodied laugh that startled even her. The dishwasher walked in, saw it, and laughed too. The server leaned close to the bowl and spoke softly, as if they didn't want to spook the kitchen. "Okay," they said. "Whoever you are, you have a sense of humor." The goldfish drifted in a slow circle, calm and steady, as if he had been wearing hats his whole life. The cook wiped her eyes. "Well," she said, "if our kitchen is going to be strange, I'm glad it's the kind of strange that makes hats." The dishwasher nodded. Agreed. The server carefully lifted the hat off the bowl and placed it back down. Then, after a moment's thought, they made a second tiny hat from another receipt and placed it beside the first. They looked around the empty kitchen. "For your efforts," they said politely. Nothing moved. For a second. Then the two hats slid side by side, perfectly aligned, like a thank you. The cook pressed her hands together. "We have an organized kitchen spirit," she said. "Or a very neat ghost. Or Captain has a secret night job," the server said, smiling at the fish. The goldfish blew a bubble. It popped. And for the rest of the day, the staff worked with a little extra lightness in their steps, as if the kitchen had quietly joined their team. That night, before leaving, the server leaned close to the bowl and whispered, "Good night, Captain." They paused, then added, "Good night, kitchen." They turned off the lights, leaving the small lamp on. The restaurant settled. Quiet arrived in layers. And somewhere in the calm, tidy dark, the goldfish drifted beside his lighthouse while the kitchen, careful and unseen, straightened spoons and arranged tiny paper hats, as if that was the most normal thing in the world.